definitely. I was going to ask as well, what sort of things do you have as examples of things that, you know, teachers could be doing potentially to support children that may have suspected or diagnosed ADHD within, obviously there's going to be a range of different things, whether it's sensory or, you know, they're overstimulated or they've, you know, got highly distracted, things like that. But are there certain things that are more commonly used, strategies or things like that that are easier to sort of implement without making too much of an effect on everybody else and on the child as well? Or
I think it is about normalising some of the supports that you would put in place. Generally, something that's going to be good and helpful for a child with ADHD is actually going to be good and helpful for all children in the class. So you'll hear people talk about things like fidgets or move and sit cushions or those sorts of things, but a lot of it can also be around emotional regulation, and that's something you can be teaching your entire class. There's plenty of programs that work on things like that. And it might be that it's tweaked slightly for one child, but the rest of the class know the language. If it's zones of regulation, they know what the red zone is and the green zone is and those sorts of things. Sensory things can be quite tricky because what one child's seeking, another child can be avoiding, so it's being aware of that sort of clash. And it's understanding things like sometimes our children with ADHD find noise really, really challenging, but they are extremely noisy themselves, so there can be that, that kind of dynamic going on. And also understanding about preempting some things, so not waiting until they've had enough to give them a break, but giving them a break preemptively so that they can just get on with their learning. Stretching children when they need to be stretched outside their comfort zone, but also knowing when not to go there. Okay.
I think sorry, go. I was going to say, like at high school, it's quite interesting hearing what you're saying, because you know the kids will have 6 periods a day, and the intensity of that can overload people sometimes. And what I've noticed is being able to have a break and self-exit from class, take a break, be able to go for a walk, have a drink of water, have something to eat as well, and having, again, that key person that they can go to who can do that little check-in with them. Are you okay today? Have you eaten? Have you slept? When was the last time you weren't wearing the headphones? Or how much screen time have you had today? And really just noticing what that day is looking like, what that pattern is, and looking for those little moments where they could be taking breaks, because by the time someone gets to high school, it's about building up their capacity to do it on their own as well. So having some sort of tools that they've got for themselves that they can manage themselves, rather than having someone manage for them, is really helpful. So being allowed to leave the classroom for 10 minutes and then re-enter, or have that time to regulate, and then maybe go, I'm still not quite in the zone I need to be, and be able to go to that safe person to say, can I just work in this quiet place? Being able to work somewhere else outside of their classroom, especially if they're in a big collaborative space, can be helpful. Noise cancelling headphones, the loop earbuds can be helpful too. It just really depends on the individual student, what they're needing, and how they're feeling about themselves in that day.
In all settings, having learning that perhaps encourages more hands-on, more active sort of learning approaches can be really helpful, and adjusting sort of some of the sort of the workstations. So for instance, you might have an opportunity to sit at your desk, or you might have a standing desk, or you might be able to go and lie down on the carpet and do something there. So again, it's what Emma said, if it works for one student, it's bound to work for another student as well. So I think there's a whole range of different classroom adaptations that teachers can make as well.
And using strengths and passions as a way into whatever the learning intention is can be quite helpful. And I think in the high school system, that being able to get up and leave after a period and go to a new class, there's some exercise in there, probably a drink along the way,
Some
and a fresh
natural
start
breaks.
with a new
Yes.
teacher
Mm.
is actually quite helpful sometimes.
Yeah, and that ability to be able to choose what you're doing at school
Mm.
as well, I think makes a massive difference. So we do find if kids have got they get to do those subjects that they're passionate about and they've got that to look forward to, then those little hard moments during the day, as you were saying, they can stretch it a little bit further, and it gives them that sensory time that they're needing because they've chosen it. And so again, always thinking about what do they need, what are they passionate about, what's going to help them, because it's about that long-term growth as well rather than the short-term gains.